Good evening. Welcome to today's Learn Certified Cybersecurity class. Um, we started talking about enumeration last week, and we'll continue from there before we move to um, the next module. Okay. All right. So basically, in enumeration, the what I just want you to understand is that um, the attacker wants to get information, some information. Basically, wants to know the users. That's one of the main targets of the uh, attacker when it comes to enumeration. He wants to know the users that are uh, signed on or have been signed up to use the system or have been assigned to use the system. Then he wants to know the things that are being shared. Is printers being shared, are files being shared, what type of files. And from there, he wants to also, why he wants to know about the users is that the user is able to uh, get their account. What that user, the level of access that that user has is the level of access he will have. So if he's able to get an administrator account, a user who has administrator level privilege, then he will be able to have administrator level privilege. So that's one of the reasons. So, and even when you look at, I think we talked about last week, talking about enumeration, talking about usernames, you can enumerate using email, people's email. So, of course, when you look at maybe Simon Peter at gmail.com, it goes without saying that Simon Peter is that person's username. It's possible that that user ID will be what that person will be using uh, in all the places where he or she is signed up. So those are things that attackers want to know, they want to have an understanding of. So we're talking about the issue of simple network management protocol, which is used to manage devices. This protocol is used to manage different devices within the network, especially routers, switches, and what have you. So, and different devices. So it has, like we said, it has a public string and private string. So that's the one that is read community string is public. This string is public just to read. So when you are saying read, that means that just to view. Anybody can view. But when you say read and write, that means the person can edit. So that string is private. So in terms of SNMP, we said that there are SNMP managers and SNMP agents. And there are some commands that are associated with SNMP. Get requests, which is used by the SNMP manager to request information from an SNMP agent. So that's a get request. It's used by the manager to request information from the SNMP agent. Then get next request is used by the SNMP manager continuously to retrieve all the data stored in an array or table. All right, so that's get next request, then get request, then get response used by an SNMP agent to satisfy a request made by the SNMP manager. Remember, the manager controls agents, so you can have one manager and several agents. So get response is used by the SNMP agent to satisfy a request made by the SNMP manager. The set request used by the SNMP manager to modify the value of a parameter within an SNMP agent's management information base. Then trap used by SNMP agent to inform the configured SNMP manager of a certain event. So those are just different commands: get request, get next request, get response, set request, and trap. So this is a scenario of a communication between SNMP manager and SNMP agent. SNMP manager uses the get request command to send a request for the number of active sessions to SNMP agent, which is host y 10.10.2.15. So to perform this step, the SNMP manager uses an SNMP service library, such as Microsoft SNMP Management API library or Microsoft Win SNMP API library. So it does get request. Then the SNMP agent receives the message and verifies if the community string is present on this message information base, management information base, sorry. Checks the request against its list of access permission for that community, and verifies the source IP address. So if the SNMP agent does not find the community string access permission in hostwise management information base database, and the SNMP service is set to send an authentication trap, it sends an authentication failure trap to the specified trap destination, or Z. So the master agent component of the SNMP agent calls the appropriate extension agent to retrieve the requested session information from the MIB. So using the session information retrieved from extension agent, the SNMP service forms a return SNMP message that contains number of active sessions and the destination IP address of the SNMP manager. So host Y sends that response to host X. So you have here the community string is comp info, that's the password, public password. So this sends a request, the manager sends a request for active sessions to SNMP agent. SNMP agent, SNMP trap message for failed login because you couldn't find that community string on its MIB, that's management information base. So, but if the community string does not match the string stored in management information base, host Y, which is this one, will send a community string to a pre-configured SNMP manager, which is this, indicating the error. So this one will now give them the necessary information that is needed and give to this one, and this one will not send back, giving them the number of sessions. So basically it's just to manage the connected devices, network devices, simple network management. So talking about the management information base as it pertains to simple network management protocol, is a virtual database containing formal description of all the network objects that SNMP manages. It's a collection of hierarchically organized information. Provides a standard representation of SNMP agents information and storage. MIB elements are recognized using object identifiers. An object identifier is a numeric name given to an object and begins with the root of the MIB tree. The object identifier can uniquely identify the objects in the MIB hierarchy. So MIB managed objects include scalar objects, which define a single object instance, tabular objects, which define a group of related object instances. Object identifiers include object types such as counter, string, or address, access levels such as read and write, size restrictions, and range information. The SNMP manager converts object identifiers into human readable display using the MIB as a code. That's let's move on. So you can use these tools to enumerate simple network management protocols, SNMP work and nmap. So SNMP work is a CLI tool that allows attackers to scan numerous SNMP nodes instantly and identify a set of variables that are available for accessing the target network. nmap, attackers use a SNMP info NSC script against an SNMP remote server to retrieve information related to the hosted SNMP services. SNMP work. So you can use SNMP work -v1 -c public then target IP address. It allows attackers to view all the object identifiers, variables, and other associated information. They can retrieve all the data that is in transit to the simple network management protocol server from the SNMP agent, including the server being used, user credentials, and other useful parameters. So this is the SNMP version 1 -c. Other commands, if you want to enumerate SNMP version 2 with the community string public, SNMP v2c c public target IP address. Search for installed software v2 because we are targeting version 2 SNMP. That's why it's v2. v2c public target IP address. hhouse sw installed name. Command to determine amount of RAM. So SNMP work v2c public target IP address. hr memory size. Command to change an object ID to a different value. SNMP v2c public target IP address. OID value. Command to change the sys contact object identifier. SNMP v2c public target IP address. Sys contact new value. So you can also use nmap, the command line interface, the one that can be found in Parrot operating system. Other nmap commands, SNMP enumeration, and so on. So, but the thing is that for you to be able to do SNMP enumeration, this particular port has to be open in the target device. If that port, I think SNMP is port let me try to confirm. So let me check something first. So SMTP is 25. SNMP. Simple network man. Okay. 161. 161. 161. 161. 139 is NetBIOS. 161, then 162. SNMP, then SNMP trap. All right, so this is another enumeration tool. We have SNMP check. It allows one to enumerate a simple network management devices and place that. So in order for you to try to use these tools, the port must be open. That simple network management port 161, 162 must be open on the remote device in order for you to be able to do carry out this enumeration, because without that service being running, without that service running on the target network or device, then there's no need for you to start targeting it. So it's based on what you see from your port scanning of that your target IP address or the target network that will now determine what are you going to pursue, what are the things you want to enumerate. So if I see some services that are on the hand, then I will now look, okay, these are the services I saw, let me enumerate them to see what are they doing, what are the devices that are connected. So SNMP allows one to enumerate SNMP devices and place the output in a very human readable and friendly format. Then soft perfect network scanner discovers shared folders and retrieves practically any information about network devices via Windows Management Interface, Simple Network Management Protocol, HTTP, SSH, and PowerShell. So that's a powerful tool there. Soft perfect network scanner. This is a screenshot, so it can allow you to do enumeration. So you can see you put in the range of IP addresses, then you start scanning. It will now tell you what is running, whether it's just HTTP, um, system decision, system contact, host name, MAC address. So you can resolve host names and auto-detect the local and external IP addresses, supports remote shutdown and wake online. So attackers use this tool to gather information about the shared folder and network devices. So perfect can ping computers, scan ports, discover shared folders, and retrieve practically any information about network devices via Windows management instrumentation. So SNMP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol, SSH, and PowerShell scans for remote services, registry files, performance counters, etc. So other tools, network performance monitor, oputils, PRTG network monitor, engineers tool set. Then the second thing, apart from simple network management protocol that I want to enumerate is LDAP, that's lightweight directory access protocol. Is for accessing distributed directory services. Directory services may provide any organized set of records, often in a hierarchical and logical structure, such as a corporate email directory. So a client starts a LDAP session by connecting to directory system agent on TCP port 389 and sends an operation request to the directory system agent. So information is transmitted between the client and server using basic encoding rules. Attackers query LDAP service to gather information such as valid usernames, addresses, departmental details, which can be further used to perform attacks. So that's what they're looking for: usernames, addresses, and departmental details. So that's what lightweight is for accessing distributed directory services. That's why we call it lightweight directory access protocol. It accesses the directory list. When you're talking of directory, you're just talking about files, different files and folders. So just like I don't know many of us here, if you ever came across what we used to use in those days, we call it directory, containing full number of people. But that's, I don't know how many of us came across. But in short, directory is just like it lists files and all that. So it's on port 389. Attackers can anonymously query LDAP service for sensitive information such as username, addresses, departmental details, server names, etc. So we have manual and we have automated LDAP enumeration. Manual Attackers perform manual IDP enumeration using Python to fetch information such as domain name, naming context, and directory objects. So they use it to uh, they can use that, and they automated they use LDAP brute NSE script to brute force LDAP authentication. So for manual LDAP enumeration, the attacker can use Python using nmap. Check whether the target LDAP server is listening on port 389 for LDAP and port 636 for secure LDAP. If the LDAP, if it's listening on either 389 or 636, initiate enumeration process by installing LDAP using the following command: pip3 install LDAP3. So as shown in the code below, create a server object. Specify the target IP address or host name and port number. If the target server is listening on secure ADP, specify use SSL equals to true. So retrieve the directory system agent specific entry, naming context by specifying get info adp3.1. So now create a common object connection and initiate a call to bind. So if the connection is successful, true is displayed and screen as follows. So import adp3 server is equal to adp3.server. That's target IP address, get info adp3 dot or port. That's 389. Remember, it's either 389 or 636. 636 if it's secure. Connection adp3 dot connection server connection by true. So you can fetch information such as domain name, naming context using the following server. Script server.info. So here we are. This is So you can see here the screenshot imported DP3 server, DP3 server, then the IP address is used. This is just for what's it called? 10.10.1.22. Get info LDP3.all port 389. Connection LDP3 dot connection bind. True. So once you see true, that means the connection has been established. So it starts giving you all the details. Naming context, this is CHDC equals is so supported controls. So it gives all the information about the different directories. Then the automated one, you use nmap NSE script, which you can find in Pirate. Brute force ADP authentication. By default, it uses the built-in username and password list. So user DB and path script arguments can be employed to use custom list. So we have the ports 389 UDP open service LDAP. So that's it shows that that particular port 389, which is for LDAP, is open on the target machine. So from there, you run the script map for 389 script LDAP root. That means you want to log in forcefully, and it has some a database of username and passwords, which it will try to use to log in into this, and that's what we call brute forcing. So, which is able to get it into. These are valid credentials, administrator, users, etc.com, MC. So we have tools that can be used um, sort of to automate the process. If you are not friendly with command line interface or codes, you have software ADP administrator. It provides various features essential for ADP development, deployment, and administration of directories. So, software ADP administrator. Then attackers use LDAP search for enumerating Active Directory users. It allows attackers to establish a connection with an LDAP server to perform different searches using specific filters. If you want Parrot to work, you have to install the VMware first. Have you installed the VMware, Anthony Tony? Can definitely work. It's the VMware that will carry it, not the. You are not supposed to install it directly on the Windows 10. You are not supposed to install it directly on the Windows 10. You um, get a VMware and you install it. You install the VMware. I think I dropped the what's it called last week, the link for us to do that. So the software IDP administrator, it works with IDP servers such as Active Directory, Novel Directory Service, and Netscape. The browser manages LDP directories as shown in the screenshot. Attackers use it to enumerate user details such as username, email address, and department. You can see we have enumerated the users, their emails, and their departments. You can use LDAP search also. It's a shared accessible interface for LDAP search library call. Opens a connection to an LDAP server, binds it, and performs a search using the specified parameters. The filter should conform to the string representation of the search filters as defined in RFC 4515. Other types of enumeration or network time protocol. Network time. So sorry, just give me a minute. I want to attend to something. I'll be right back. Well, network time protocol is used for synchronizes all um, the times of all the devices that are connected to it. So, so if you have uh, NTP on on a particular device, so any device that is connected to it will take up a single time, take up one time, because that's the work of that protocol. It synchronizes flux of all network computers. It uses 123 as the port, UDP one port, the default port. You can maintain time to within 10 milliseconds. That's 1 over 100 seconds over the public internet. You can achieve accuracies of microseconds or better in local area networks under ideal conditions. So attackers query to gather information such as list of connected hosts. So of course, is in charge of um, time for connected device. Of course, it has many connected devices there. Then client IP addresses in the network, their system names and operating system. Internal IPs can also be obtained if the NTP server is in the demilitarized zone. So if you wonder what's a demilitarized zone, demilitarized zone is a zone that is kept away from the internal network. So what happens is that when you have an organization that has publicly or it has servers that it wants people to access publicly, maybe via port 80 or port 443. So what it does is that it keeps those devices, whether they are email servers or web servers, it keeps them in a separate segment of the network. You understand? Keeps other internal what's it called? Internal parts or internal network. Maybe, for instance, what is used within the organization for communication within the organization, maybe the intranet part of the internal or the internal network, it keeps it separate. So that part that is usually able, that is viewed by outsiders, publicly accessible by outsiders over the internet is what we call the demilitarized. Please mute your mic. Mute your mic. Don't distract us, please. All right. So enumeration commands for uh, network time protocol includes NTP trace. Traces a chain of NTP servers back to the primary source. So NTP trace marks host server name IP address, and NTPDC monitors operation of the NTP daemon, NTPD, the NTPQ monitors operations and determines performance. So, uh, so NTPDC queries can be used to obtain additional NTP server information. Then NTP queries. We have NTPQ, NTPDC, NTPDC. So NTP date. This command collects number of time samples from several times. So it's syntax as follows: NTP updates and so on and so forth. So it gets time from different sources. You can see these are the different sources it got the time from. Like we said before, NTPDC queries the NTP daemon regarding its current state and request changes in that state. Attackers use this to retrieve the state and statistics of NTP server connected to the target network. Its syntax is as follows. So let's look at tools that are used for NTP enumeration. We have the PRTG network monitor, which includes simple network, notes this secure network time protocol sensor monitor is simple network time protocol, sorry, server that shows the response time of the server and time difference in comparison to the local system time. So it shows the response time of the server and the time difference in comparison to the local system time. So other tools include Nmap that can be used for enumeration, Wireshark, UDP Proto Scanner, NTP Server Scanner. So NTP enumeration tools are used to monitor the working of NTP and simple NTP servers in the network and help in configuration and verification of connectivity from time clients to the NTP servers. So network file system is generally implemented on computer network where the centralization of data is required for critical resources. So the enumeration of network file system enables attackers to identify the exported directories, list of clients connected to the NFS server along with the IP address and the shared data associated with the IP addresses. So when you talk about network file system, we are basically talking about the in an organization now, if they are working together on a particular file, they share files or share documents. I don't need to move from my system before I can edit a document that you created. So it's just if once that document is shared. So I can just pick it up in the shared folder and work on it and keep it back there. Anybody, it can be printed, we can share printer, we can do all manner of things. So, and it enables users to access, view, store, and update files over a remote server. This remote data can be accessed by the client in the same way it is accessed on the local system. So depending on the privilege assigned to the client, they can either only read, or both read and write the data. NFS system is generally implemented on a computer network in which centralization of data is required for critical resources. The remote procedure call is used to route and process the request between the clients and servers. So you use RPC, remote procedure call, to route the request between clients and servers. To accomplish the process of sharing files and direct over network, the exporting process is used. However, the client first attempts to make the file available for sharing by using the mounting process. So the etc export location on the NFS server contains a list of clients allowed to share files on the server. In this approach, To access the server, the only credential used is the client's IP address. So NFS versions before version 4 run on the same security specification. So attackers in enumerating NFS services are able to identify the exported directory. So before the directory can be made available across board for people to be able to see, it has to be exported. So they're able to see exported directories, list of clients connected to the NFS server, those that's IP devices that are connected to the NFS server and the shared data associated with the IP address. So they can attackers can spoof the IP addresses of those people that are connected to the server to gain full access to the shared files on the server. So as shown in the screenshot, our attacker runs the following RPC info command to scan the target IP address for open NFS port. And the NFS service is running on it. So it sees that 2049 an open NFS port and the service that are running on it. So RPC info, RPC info, then target IP address, P, RPC info, P, then target IP address. So to view the list of shared files and directories, attacker says show mount E target IP address. Show mount E that shows the list of shared files and directories. So you can see in this screenshot now that the shared folder is home. So when the attacker queried this to show the list of shared folders and directories in this particular IP address, he was able to get that. So tools for enumerating NFS will include RP scan, communicates with RPC service remote procedure call, and checks configuration on NFS shares. SuperEnum includes a script that does the basic enumeration of any open port. So any open port, this SuperEnum will enumerate it. It will show what you can find. RPC scan. Let's see the screenshots. So PY is a Python to 10.10.1.19. So RPC services, and it shows 20. Once you see port 2049 open, you know that you are talking about NFS. So if you see 161, you are talking about Lightweight Directory Access Protocol. Please mute your.
Wow.
Okay, just hold on. Somebody just came in and distracted the whole class. Okay, I'm trying to get. Just give me a second. I want to get something for Mr. Tony that is asking. Is he still in this call? Okay, still here. Hmm, just a second. I shared this link last week, but Apparently, you missed it. Okay, let me try and get that now. Just a minute, please. Right, let's see. Okay, I think we'll make do with this one. So I think you got it. Let me share my screen, continue with the lecture. All right, so um okay, so once you see 2049, once you see 389, that's that's directory access protocol. 161, talking about SNMP. So you need to be familiar with these numbers. These numbers. All right, so we want to go about SMTP, simple mail transfer protocol, which is responsible for mail exchanges or mail transfer. Mail exchanges or mail transfer. Um, SMTP provides three built-in commands: validate users, EXP ensures the actual delivery addresses of aliases and mailing lists. Then how CPTTO defines the recipients of a message. So SMTP servers respond differently to VRF1, EXPN, and RCPTTO commands for valid and invalid users, based on which we can determine valid users on the SMTP service. So attackers can directly interact with SMTP via the telnet prompt and collect a list of valid users on the SMTP server. So, like I said, every of these protocols have users. So anytime the port is on or open on the target device or the target network, there are users, there are things that are being shared, which attackers. So that's just a general uh, view or general, do I put it? That's the general objective why the they are interested in this kind of information, because the things that are being stored at the back end, the users that are signed on, the IP addresses, the devices that are connected, those are the things they want to. It allows them to have more knowledge about the target network. So now so what we said, VRFY is to validate users. So you can telnet, and this is port 25. Once you see this, so this is the IP address, telnet IP address 192.168.168.1, then port 25. So we are trying to connect to this particular IP address using the SMTP protocol, because this is the port. So then the EXPN displays the actual delivery address of aliases and mailing lists. Then the RCPT defines recipients of the messages. So administrators and pen testers can perform SMTP enumeration using command line utilities such as Telnet and Netcat, or by using tools such as Metasploit, Mmap, Scan, and SFTP user enum to collect a list of valid users, delivery addresses, message recipients, etc. So now when you have we have also have this super enum, but I think that all the different protocols have their different types of tools. But I think super enum, well, like we read earlier on, is able to enumerate all the different protocols and give information on that. So we have Mmap and Metasploit. Attackers perform enumeration on the target SMTP using various SMTP commands available with NSC scripts. So the Metasploit framework contains an SMTP enumeration module that allows attackers to connect to the target simple mail transfer protocol server and enumerate user names using the predefined word lists. So there's a predefined word list which they use. So it's MRP25. So it's targeting uh, that particular port, SMTP port, script SMTP enum user. So you want to enumerate the users for this particular IP address. So and it's able to do that. It gets the usernames, root, admin, administrator. Those are the different usernames. So they can also use Metasploit, MSF console, auxiliary scanner, SMTP, SMTP, and current RPort 25. So for this one, this particular Metasploit, it has already a word list or a list of words that it uses to match. You scan to see if there's a match between those words and what it finds in the server, SMTP server. So once there's a match, immediately it does matches and says, okay, I found a user. So all these users he found, well, they are contained in the word list, and I was able to match them even with the users. Then we have other tools like this NetScan. So one good thing about this course is that, well, it doesn't force you to learn coding. If you are not good with coding or with Python, there are always tools that have GUI that you can use. You understand? So, but basically, you still have to have at least a little knowledge, and those things are not difficult to learn anyway. So all you just need to know is to be competent with them. The more you practice, the better you are. And mind you, you cannot be good with all tools. And also, what I always tell my students, give yourself time. Don't believe cybersecurity is a wide field, very, very wide. So it's not something you can just learn in a day. So just take it once at a time. It requires a lot of practice for you to get good at it. All right. So Abnet Scan Tools Pro. Um, Email generator tool. Test the process of sending an email message through an SMTP server. Attackers use NetScan Tools Pro for SMTP enumeration and extract all the email header parameters, including confirm stroke urgent flag. So attackers can also record the email session in a log file and then view the communications between the NetScan Tools Pro and the SMTP server in the log file. So there you are. So you have a particular target and you're able to get your results. but it's not a free tool anyway. So DNS, I think I explained DNS that is responsible for resolving domain names to IP addresses. So it can also be enumerated because there are a lot of information that are contained in DNS. So if the target DNS server allows zone transfers, then attackers use this technique to obtain DNS server names, host names, machine names, username, IP addresses, aliases, etc. signed within a target domain. So they can obtain server names, host names, machine names, username, IP addresses, aliases. Attackers perform DNS zone transfer using tools such as NS lookup, dig, DNS recon. If DNS transfer settings enabled on the target name server, it will provide DNS information, or else it will return an error saying it has failed or refuses the zone transfer. So Linux DNS zone transfer and Windows DNS zone transfer using NS lookup command. So in DNS enumeration using some type of attacker he attempts rather to retrieve a copy of the entire zone file for a domain from the DNS server. Attackers can perform DNS zone transfer using tools such as NS lookup, D command, and DNS recon. So if the DNS transfer setting is enabled on the target name server, it will provide the DNS information, or else it will return an error stating it has failed or refused the zone transfer. So to perform a DNS zone transfer, the attacker sends a zone transfer request to the DNS server pretending to be a client. The DNS server sends a portion of its database as a zone to the attacker. The zone may contain a large amount of information about the DNS zone network. So the dig command, attackers use dig command on Linux-based systems to query DNS name servers and retrieve information about the target host addresses, name servers, mail exchanges, as shown, etc. As shown in the screenshot, attackers use the following command to perform DNS zone transfer. Dig NS, that's name server. Retrieves all DNS name servers of the target domain. Attackers use one of the name servers from the output of the above command to test whether target DNS allows zone transfers. They use the following command for this purpose: dig add domain name of server, target domain, AXF file. So dig NS, then that's domain name of server. Dig NS, and it gives them the result. Answer session, the C name, canonical name, then the name servers. So it gives them the result. Then you can also enumerate the name server, ns1.bluehost.com, which is the one of the name servers. Then the domain name, AXFR, one server found, transfer failed. So it wants to do that command is supposed to do um, they want to know if it allows zone transfers, but it now give that answer here that transfer failed. So it doesn't do zone transfers. So you can also use ns lookup command to query the DNS name server and retrieve information about the target host addresses, name servers, mail exchanges. So ns lookup set query type, source of authority, target domain. The above command sets the query type to the start of authority record to retrieve administrative information about the DNS zone of the target domain. So the following command is used to attempt to transfer the zone of the name server, LSD. So I want to do zone transfer. So ns lookup default server DNS Google 8.8.8 set query type SOA certifiedhacker.com server dns.google address non-authoritative answer certifiedhacker.com primary name server DNS NS1 responsible mail address DNS admin Syria and all that another. So wanting to transfer the zone of the specified name server, it says um, server failed. The DNS server refused to transfer the zone to your computer. So that's the attempt to try to transfer the zone. So basically, you just want to move the information that is on that name server to your system. So of course, you have DNS cache because every time you request for um, DNS service, you don't have to start going to your computer doesn't or your device doesn't have to go and be checking the DNS server all the time. So that's why it has a cache. So if there has been a previous search in that regard, what it will just do is to go to the cache and find out, have we done this search before? What was the information we retrieved, and simply use that information. So, but that cache, attackers also want to gather the information that is in it. So they do DNS cache snooping. It's a DNS enumeration technique whereby attacker queries the DNS servers for a specific cache DNS record. So non-recursive method. Attackers send a non-recursive query by setting the recursion desired bit in the query header to 0. Recursive method. Attackers send a recursive query to determine the time the DNS record resides in the cache. So in this first example, trying to find dig 162 certifiedhacker.com non-recourse. One server found, no error. Indicates that the query is accepted, but the site is not cached. So this particular site is not cached. That means there's no information about it. It's not stored. Want to get what if this particular one is stored. Then also this recursive, non-recursive, and recursive method. This is the sorry, let me confirm. It is a recursive method. So checking and showing that a high time to leave value indicates that the record was not in the cache. Because if it were in the cache, the time to leave value will not be as high as this. It will be far, because there's that going that distance show that it's not in the cache. So the higher the distance that the packet had to move, the higher the time to leave value. So time to leave. So sec zone working. It's DNS enumeration technique where an attacker attempts to obtain internal records of the DNS server if the DNS zone is not properly configured. They use tools such as LDNS, DNS record to exploit this vulnerability and obtain the network information of a target domain and further launch internet-based attacks. So DNS sec is a type of DNS enumeration technique which an attacker attempts to obtain internal records if the DNS zone is not properly configured. The enumerated zone information can assist the attacker in building a host network. So organizations use DNSSEC to add security features. So essentially, DNSSEC is supposed to be more secure than ordinary DNS, but still attackers have not given up to try to find out if there are some loopholes they can exploit. So the security feature uses digital signature based on public key cryptography to strengthen authentication. In DNS, these digital signatures are stored in DNS name servers along with common records, such as mail exchanger, A record, A and canonical name. So why DNS SEC provides internet security. It's also susceptible to vulnerability called zone enumeration, zone working. With this, attackers can obtain network information of a target domain based on which they can launch internet-based attacks. To overcome this, a new version of DNSSEC that uses Net Secure version 3 is used. So DNSSEC is not enough. You have to use NSEC 3. So DNS zone working tools are usually used to enumerate the target domain's DNS echo file. These tools can also help zone enumeration, perform zone enumeration, NSEC and NSEC3 record files, and further use the gathered information to launch attacks such as DOS and phishing attacks. So how DNS work enumerates DNSSEC zone and obtains results on the DNS record file. So as you can see, it uses the following query to enumerate the target domain iana.org using DNS server 8.8.8 to obtain DNS record files. So we have LDNS work, IP of DNS server, and then the target domain. I was able to enumerate it using LDP, LDNS work, that's zone working. The same thing with DNS recon. Also use mmap for DNS business. So you see here, use mmap. Let's see, 53 is open. So once you see that 53 is open, and mind you, like all these things are sort of proof of concept. They are proof of concept. They are not some of the things you see, they may not really be possible, and you may even be, it may be hard for you to even find uh, what's it called? Target devices that have some of these ports open. But we are just telling you to know these are the kind of attacks that attackers do perpetrate. You understand? So if for you tomorrow you become a cybersecurity analyst in an organization, you'll be able to defend to know these are the things that are possible. If my port 53 is open, these are the things that can happen. So that's about that. Okay, let me just drop. Okay. So IPsec, we want to talk about enumeration of some of these other aspects, like IPsec, which uses encapsulation security payload, authentication header, and internet key exchange to secure communication between VPN endpoints. So IPsec is used when you are using VPN, virtual private networks. So all your communication is passed through a tunnel, so it's encapsulated, and no one will be able to know about it. So IPsec uses encapsulation security payload, authentication header, and internet key exchange to secure communication between virtual private network endpoints. So most IPsec-based VPNs use Internet Security Association and Key Management Protocol, a part of Internet Key Exchange, to establish, negotiate, modify, and delete security associations and cryptographic keys in a VPN environment. So the simple scanning for uh, ISAKMP at UDP port 500 can indicate the presence of VPN gateway. So once you see that 500 is open, that means that the VPN gateway is up. And attackers can probe further using tools such as IKE scan to enumerate sensitive information, including encryption, hashing algorithm, authentication type, key distribution algorithm, and SA life duration. Nmap is used to determine if that particular port is open. And once it's done, attackers can probe further using fingerprinting tools such as IK scan to enumerate sensitive information, including encryption and hashing algorithm, authentication type, key distribution algorithm, and so on. So, EK scan, the one that I call the EK, it may be IK scan M. So that particular host that had the port 500 open is what we have to scan to enumerate some of the things. Um, Essay duration, ICNKMP header, authentication type, hashing algorithm, encryption, and so on and so forth. IKEs can discover IKE hosts and can fingerprint them using the retransmission backup pattern. IKE scan can perform the following functions. Discovery. The host running IKE, internet key exchange in a given IP range can be determined by displaying the hosts that respond to IKE requests sent by IKE scan. Fingerprinting. The IKE implementation used by the host can be determined, and in some cases, the version of the software they are running can be determined. This is done in two ways: UDP backup fingerprinting, which involves recording the times of arrival of the IKE response packets from the target host and comparing the observed retransmission backup pattern against known patterns, and vendor ID fingerprinting can also be used to perform transform enumeration, user enumeration, pre-shared key cracking, uh, either through offline dictionary or brute force part or cracking that be performed. Then the second type of enumeration that we can do, voice over internet protocol enumeration. This uses session initiation protocol to enable voice and video calls over an IP network. So, session initiation protocol generally uses either UDP TCP ports 2000, 2001, 50, 60, 50, 61. So once you see any of these ports open, you know that session initiation protocol is up. So VoIP enumeration provides sensitive information such as VoIP gateway of servers, IP private branch exchange systems, client software, soft phones, VoIP phones, user agent IP address, and user access. So the information can be used to launch various voice over internet protocol attacks such as denial of service, session hijacking, caller ID spoofing, eavesdropping, spamming over internet, telephony, and voice over internet protocol phishing. SV map, open source Canada identifies session initiation protocol devices and private branch exchange servers on the target network. So it can be helpful for administrators when users network inventory tool. Attackers use it to identify SIP devices, PBS servers, and scan large a range of networks. Scan one host on different ports for a service, on that host or multiple hosts on multiple ports. Ring all the phones on the network simultaneously using the invite method. So you can see SVP map, this particular target IP address, 5060 disabled. You can also use Metasploit's session initiation protocol username memory to scan numeric usernames, extensions, or voice over internet protocol forms. Remote procedure call enumeration. So remote procedure call is 20 is it, wait, I think that's the one that is 204 or 111. Okay, it's on TCP. Can be 111 2049. No, it's 2049. So remote procedure call allows clients and servers to communicate. That's what it does. It allows clients and servers to communicate in distributed clients to server programs. So enumerating remote procedural core endpoints enables attackers to identify any vulnerable services in these service modes. The okay. The port mapper listens on TCP and UDP port 111 to detect the endpoint and present clients, along with details of listening RPC services. Enumerating RPC endpoint enables attackers to identify any vulnerable services on these ports. In networks protected by firewalls and other security establishments, the port mapper is often filtered. So because they would have blocked it at the firewall. Therefore, attackers scan wide port ranges to identify RPC servers that are open to direct attack. So, for instance, this is scanned by Nmap. I don't know how many of us have downloaded this to test it. Nmap, you go to nmap.org, nmap.org to download it. And you see it's scanning a whole network range that it says /24. So the old has 10.10.1.0. So scan, it will scan for the ones that are reachable and the ports that are open for each of them. What is this? LDAP 389, RPC 135, remote procedure call 210 to 2105 to 107. So it's open, 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 open. So additional attacker use tools such as NetScan tools to capture RPC information of target network. NetScan tools Pro RPC info helps attackers detect and access the port mapper daemons that are typically runs on port 111 of Unix or Linux machines. So NetScan tools Pro, very good to scan to determine. So like I said, 2049 also. Those are RPC. Yeah, asking for RPC tools. Ports, sorry. So for users on Unix or Linux, they can try to enumerate to know the users. R users, this displays a list of users who are logged on to remote machines. So R, that's remote users. R who, those are list of users who logged on to hosts on the local network. The finger displays information about system users such as login, real name, terminal name, idle time, and so on and so forth. So finger, R who, R users. R users. A gives report for a machine even if no users are logged in. H sorts alphabetically by host name. L gives longer listing similar to the who command. U sorts by number of users. I sorts by idle time. Who, so R user is those that are uh, logged in to remote machines. R who, list of users who are logged into hosts on local network. Finger displays are users login, real name, terminal name, idle time, and so on and so forth. So this finger gives us login, Ubuntu directory or Ubuntu name, Ubuntu login, idle time, login time, office, and all that. You can also do telnet and server message block, I think, SMB. Enumeration. Telnet is port 23. It's usually closed because it's a very insecure. It's very insecure protocol. If it is found open, that's telnet. Attackers can access shared information, including hardware and software. Telnet enumeration enables attackers to exploit identified vulnerabilities and perform brute force So telnet, it transmits information data in clear text. It transmits it in clear text. It doesn't encrypt. So that makes it very uh, very. So if attackers are able to get their hands on that kind of ports, of course, they will do a lot of damage. They will do a lot of damage. So SMB enumeration, attackers use these tools such as Nmap, SMB map, enum for Linux and non-D Linux to perform a directed scan on SMB service running on port 445. It tells attackers to perform operating system banner grabbing on the target. So that port is port 445, 445. So this one you are trying to get 23, that's port 23, that's for telnet, target IP address, you scan, you see it's filtered. When you see filtered, that means at the level of the firewall, it has been blocked or by some other obstacle. So when you see filtered, it's after open, filtered, or close. So then server message block, transport protocol that generally used by Windows system for providing shared access to files, printers, and serial ports, as well as remote access to Windows services. It runs directly on port 445 or via the NetBIOS API on UDP ports 137 138. This is port 137 to 139. By using the SMB service, users can access files and other data stored at a remote server. So it's used to provide shared access to file, printers, and serial ports. So attacker generally perform banner grabbing, obtain information such as operating system details and versions of services run. By using this information, attackers can perform various attacks such as server message, block, relay attacks, and brute force attacks. So there are also tools. Remap is searching. Is it open? Yeah, it's open on this particular target device 445. So and it gives details. NetBIOS name server 2019, NetBIOS user unknown, NetBIOS MAC address, SMB two time, message sign enable not required, so on and so forth. So Nmap script SMB protocols. It allows you to get details to enumerate the supported protocol and versions of the SMB server. So with this command now, np nmap p445 script SMB protocols 10.10.1.9. FTP and TFTP enumeration. File transfer protocol transfers data in plain text. So that's, I think that's port 21. FTP. Then FTP trivial file protocol. That's, I think that's port 69. Transfer data in plain text between the sender and receiver, which can lead to, so the same way that this thing works, telnet. The telnet is for remote connection. FTP is for transfer of files. So which can lead to critical information such as username and passwords being exposed to attackers. Attackers use Nmap to scan and enumerate open port 21 by running FTP services and further use the information to launch various attacks such as FTP bounce, FTP brute force, packet sniffing. So also TFTP2, we use port key and Nmap. So TFTP is file transfer protocol is port 21. Port 21. Want to check using Nmap You want to see if this particular port is open on this particular IP address. You see it is open. It's open, which makes the data accessible to external sources. So you can now use Metasploit to enumerate it. So Triple File Transfer Protocol is a simplified version of FTP used for transferring files between network devices. TFTP listens on port 2069 is used when directory visibility and user authentication are not required. It provides no security features also. So you can use port cry to report the port status of this UD port in selected targets. So you can use it to know whether this particular port is, so you can see 69. So you can determine and you know the target. So it will tell you whether it is open, it's querying, and it's filtered. That means it's blocked. Like I said, it's blocked. You can also use for as a CLI to map targets filtered. Filtered. You can also do IP version 6 enumeration. IP version 6 addressing protocol is the better version, improved version of IP version 4. So it provides identification to computer systems, including their location and information, and further assist in routing traffic from one system to the other across the network. Attackers can find IP version 6 enumeration using various tools such as NX, IP version 6 Arcade, on target tools to obtain the IP version 6 addresses and further scan enumerated IP addresses to detect various security issues. NVIDIA's enumeration to fetch this IP version 6 address of a machine through simple network management protocol. So attackers use it to enumerate IP version 6 address of a target machine by setting SNMP version to 2C and community string to public. Border gateway protocol used to exchange routing and reachability information between different autonomous systems present on the network. So this border gateway protocol allows, it helps, should I say, ease traffic or allow easy flow of data across different routers. So border gateway protocol, but attackers can also enumerate it using mmap and BGP to discover IP version 4 prefixes announced by the autonomous system number and routing path, followed by the target. So they use information to launch various attacks such as man in the middle. We'll learn about that later. Border gateway protocol hijacking attack and denial of service attack. So the port is 179. You can use mmap to see if it is up and it is open. In this particular instance, you can use this tool, BGB toolkit, to get more information. So, as an administrator, what are the countermeasures that you can take, which is something that should interest us more, to guard against your organization falling victim to all these type of attacks that we have been talking about? So for SNMP, you remove the SNMP agent or turn off the SNMP service. Remember, we talk about SNMP agent and manager. So you remove SNMP agent or turn it off. If it's not an issue, if you can't turn it off, then you change the default community string names. You know, yeah, there's a read community string, there's a read or write. Upgrade to SNMP version 3, which encrypts password and messages. And you also can implement the group policy security option called additional restrictions for anonymous connections. Then LDAP, by default, LDAP traffic is transmitted unsecure. Use SSL or start TLS technology to encrypt the traffic. Select a username different from your email address and enable account lockout. That's for lightweight directory access protocol. Also use NT-LAN manager or any basic authentication methods. Then NFS, that's network file system. Implement proper permission, read or write to restricted to specific users. Implement firewall rules to block port 2049. Oh, sorry. I was making a mistake. RPC is 111, while NFS is 2049. Then ensure proper configuration of files such as etc, smb.conf, and so on. Then for simple mail transfer protocol, configure SMTP servers to ignore email messages to unknown recipients. Then exclude sensitive mail server and localhost information in mail response. So when there's a response to emails that are being responded to, then make sure that some sensitive information do not go with that reply. Disable open relay feature. Limit the number of accepted connections from a source to prevent brute force attacks. Server message block. Disable that protocol on web and DNS servers. Disable on internet facing servers. Disable POS 139 TCP 445 used by it. Restrict anonymous access through restrict non-session access parameter from Windows Registry. File transfer protocol. Implement secure file transfer protocol or FTPS to encrypt FTP traffic over network. Implement strong passwords or certification-based authentication. Ensure that unrestricted uploading of files on the FTP server is not allowed. Disable anonymous FTP accounts if not feasible. Regularly monitor anonymous accounts. All right, so that's just it. That is it. Let me see. DNS countermeasures restrict resolver access, ensure that resolver can be accessed only by hosts inside the network. Randomize source ports, ensure that request packet exiting the network use random ports rather than 53, so that attackers will not know that port is open. Audit DNS zones, audit DNS zones to identify vulnerabilities in domains and subdomains and address DNS related issues. Then patch known vulnerabilities. If there are vulnerabilities, patch it. So what are patches? Patches are uh, pieces of software that help to fix issue in an application. So if there's an application, it's just like when they want to patch a road, asphalt road, what do they use? They use asphalt. So we use software to patch software to make sure that there are no loopholes. Monitor name server. Monitor the behavior to identify malicious activity or expected behaviors. Restrict DNS zone transfers to specific slave name server IP address because the zone transfer may include a master copy of the primary server's database. Disable DNS zone transfer to untrusted hosts. Use different servers for authoritative and resolving functions. Use isolated DNS servers. So do not host application server along with DNS server. So use it if there's a DNS server, use it for that purpose alone. Don't use other things. Don't put maybe your applications on it again. Let the DNS server stand alone. Disable DNS recursion to possibly restrict queries from other or third-party domains. Then adding the operating system by blocking or use ports and blocking unnecessary service. Use VPN for secure communication. Change default password. Implement two-factor authentication to provide secure access. Use DNS change log. DNS sec. Use DNS sec. Then use premium. We also talk about NSEC 3. So after DNS sec, there's still NSEC 3. Okay, so let's move to the next before we round up for today. At least let's touch this. So if you have any question, you can drop in the chat box. Looking at it together. Talking about vulnerabilities. Like I said before, vulnerabilities are there are loopholes or weaknesses that can be found in hardware or software. So this, okay, vulnerability is existence of weakness in an asset that can be exploited by threat agents. It is the existence of weakness in an asset that can be exploited. So whether it's hardware or software, if there's a weakness that can be exploited by threat agents, attackers, um, vulnerabilities. So what are common reasons behind this? Is hardware or software misconfiguration, insecure or poor design of the network and application, inherent technology weaknesses, careless approach of end users. So it can be hardware or software misconfiguration, insecure or poor design of the network and application, inherent technology weaknesses, careless approach of end users. So when we have insecure configuration of hardware or software, can lead to security loss. An example is um, when you use an unencrypted protocol, which will lead to network intrusions, resulting in leakage of sensitive information, while a misconfiguration of hardware may allow attackers to obtain access to the network or system. So misconfiguration of software may allow attackers to obtain access to applications and data. So insecure or poor design of network and application, and improper and insecure design of the network may make it susceptible to various threats. E.g., if you have firewalls, IDS, and VPN that are not implemented securely, they can expose the network to numerous threats. Then, when the technology is weak, for instance, if you didn't use secure codes for your software, it could be an issue. So certain hardware application web browser tend to be prone to attacks such as denial of service or man in the middle. So if your system is running old version of web browsers, so that's an issue because like my own system now, I've been having issue. Uh, the thing is that this what's it called? Mac, they they want you to be changing your Mac. This is why are we going to be dumping the old MacBooks? Because at a point they tell you that your MacBook cannot uh, update to a particular level, newer version of the software. And now the my browser is insecure because it's not updated to the latest browser, which is Chrome, because the latest browser runs on a newer version of the Mac operating system that I'm supposed to use. So the old Mac operating system version I'm using cannot support new version, updated version of the Chrome. So that's an example of when you have issues relating to inherent technology weaknesses. The end user carelessness when people release information anyhow, especially through social engineering. So end user carelessness, you don't know what you have. Then when you have disgruntled employees, uh, intentional end user ex-employee who continue to have access to shared drive can misuse them by revealing the company's sensitive information. So that's an example. So what I look at, let's look at the examples of vulnerabilities. Like I said, please, if you have any question, drop in the chat box. So round off, we'll talk about it. I've mentioned it. We have technological vulnerabilities, TCP/IP protocol vulnerabilities, description, HTTP, FTP, ICMP, SNMP, SMTP. They are inherently secure. So what is secure here is HTTPS, SFTP or FTPS, ICMP. I don't know, wait, I think there's a version that is secure. Simple Network Management Protocol version 2. I think, yes, then SMTP also, low, newer version, I think it's the version 3. They are secure. Then when you talk about operating system vulnerability, so this first one I mentioned, those set of protocols, they transfer, they do transmission of data in clear text. So we have operating system vulnerabilities. An operating system can be vulnerable because it's inherently secure or it's not patched. So your operating system, so when your vendor is telling you that you should update to the latest operating system, it's not trying to trouble you, or it's not trying to uh, cause you issue, or to disturb you. You have to understand that it's trying to secure you. So you have to update to make sure you have patched with the latest updates. And when we even many times our apps that we use on our mobile phones ask for updates, and we're like, since just consuming my data, consuming my space. So if you know you don't have enough space on your phone, have limited number of apps so that you don't have too many app updates. It keeps eating up, eating up, eating up, and eating. Then network device vulnerabilities. Various network devices such as routers, firewall, and switches can be vulnerable due to lack of password protection, lack of authentication, insecure routing protocols, firewall vulnerabilities. So um, network device vulnerabilities, lack of password protection, lack of authentication, insecure routing protocols, firewall vulnerabilities. So, um, other types of vulnerabilities we have user account vulnerabilities. This originate from insecure transmission of user account details over the network. Username and password. System account vulnerabilities originate from setting of this password for system accounts. So when you set big password for system account, it makes those account vulnerability. The internet service misconfiguration. When you misconfigure internet services, it can pose security risks. When you enable JavaScript and you must misconfigure internet information service, Apache, FTP, and terminal service can create security vulnerabilities in the network. Default password and settings, leaving the network devices and products with their default passwords and settings. Network device misconfiguration, misconfiguring the network device. So when you misconfigure the network device, it can be an issue. So we are talking about vulnerability assessment, but under that, we'll be discussing about vulnerability research. The process of analyzing protocols, services, and configurations to discover vulnerabilities and design flaws that will expose an operating system and its applications to exploit, attack, or misuse. That's vulnerability research. Process of analyzing protocols like HTTP, FTP, and other, then services that are running like remote procedure call and server message block, all those services that are running, and configurations to discover vulnerabilities and design flaws. To discover vulnerabilities and design flaws that will expose an operating system and its application to exploit, attack, or misuse. So that's vulnerability research. We analyze it to discover vulnerabilities. So vulnerabilities are classified based on severity. They can be low, medium, or high. And depending on the exploit range, it can be local or remote. So an administrator needs vulnerability research. Why? Because you can use it to gather information concerning security trends, threats, attack surfaces, attack vectors, and techniques. For instance, I receive information on latest threats and trends, new vulnerabilities that come up. I receive them by mail, places I've signed up to. So as an administrator, you need that information so that you can start knowing, okay, this was happening, this was happening. It's just like security updates, normal security updates. We get it. You know, this what is happening. You can, okay, if they say, they are protesting at footer, that's a security update. What you would do, you avoid footer. If it's or a road or a, what's it called, or a roads or a Bini or a Shagamu, if they are protesting there, if it is UI, if it's Oshobo Road or wherever, Lagos Ibadan Expressway, you avoid the area. So in the same way, if you get such information, so that's part of our ability research, this latest threats, attacks of a system. It also allows the attack, administrator to discover weaknesses in the operating system and application, alert the network administrator before a network attack. So, so you will be able to know this operating system we are using. This latest vulnerability, so we need to handle this. Then to gather information to aid in the prevention of security issues, you IP to gather information to aid in preventing security issues. Then it will also help you to know how to recover from a network attack. It will help you to also know how to recover from a network attack. It will help you to know how to recover from a network attack. So, like we said, we have severity, low, medium, or high, the exploit range, local or remote. So, what are these resources that we can use for vulnerability research? We have this one is for Microsoft. It's Microsoft Security Response Center. It investigates all reports of security vulnerabilities affecting Microsoft products and services. So, if you are using Microsoft products, you can check this particular website, msrc.microsoft.com, to check and provide information as part of an ongoing effort to help security professionals manage security risks and keep organizational systems protected. So that's Microsoft Security Response Center. Other sources of information. So you may want to visit any of these websites maybe by the time you are reviewing this module or listening or watching recording. Packet Storm, Dark Reading, Trend Micro, Security Magazine, Pentest Magazine, SC Magazine, Exploit Database, HelpNet Security, Hacker Storm, Computer World, Decrypt. So we're talking about vulnerability research. So what is vulnerability assessment? It's an in-depth examination of the ability of the system or application, including current security procedures and controls, to withstand the exploitation. So it's an in-depth examination of ability of a system application, including current security. Excuse me. To withstand the exploitation. So it recognizes, measures, and classifies security vulnerabilities in a computer system, network, and communication channels. It recognizes, measures, and classifies security vulnerabilities in a computer system, network, and communication channels. So, a vulnerability assessment may be used to identify weaknesses that could be exploited. It could be used to predict the effectiveness of additional security measures in protecting information resources from attack. So, when you do vulnerability assessment, you are trying to test whether um, the system or application you have and also the security procedures you have in place, whether they can withstand exploits. That means whether they can withstand an attack from the enemy. So that's vulnerability assessment. You are trying to see. It's just like a security assessment. Can this application, can this software, can this system, can the procedures, the security procedure we are putting, can they withstand exploitation? That's vulnerability assessment. So it recognizes, measures, and classifies security vulnerabilities in a computer system, network, and communication channels. So what we use it for is to identify the weaknesses that could be exploited. We use it to say, this thing. It's just like when you call a law enforcement agency to a building, sir, help us to do security assessment. You say, this thing, remove it from there. This thing, let's not do it this way. Let's block this thing. Let's do this one. You understand? So use it. You can be used to predict the effectiveness of additional security measures in protecting information resources from attack. Can be used to predict the effectiveness of additional security measures in protecting information resources from attack. So, what are the information So we are going to take maybe extra 5 to 10 minutes before we go, just to make up for the for us starting late. So information that you can obtain from vulnerability scanner includes network vulnerabilities, open ports, and running services. So those open ports, like we saw during our enumeration, we saw that many of those ports, if they're open, you can do a lot of damage and also to perform a lot of attacks on them. Then we want to know the network vulnerabilities, application and services vulnerabilities, application and services configuration errors. So those are the information we obtain even from a vulnerability scanner. So we use vulnerability scanner to perform vulnerability assessment. So typically, vulnerability scanning to search network segments for IP-enabled devices and memory systems, operating system applications to identify vulnerabilities resulting from either vendor negligence, system or network administration activities, or day-to-day activities. So vulnerability scanning software scans the computer against common vulnerability and exposures index. So there are some common vulnerability and exposures index that like a database of different vulnerabilities that do exist. So when your the vulnerability scanner is scanning, it will be scanning to see if it can find any of those vulnerabilities in that system that we are scanning. So there's already a database or index. So vulnerability scanner are capable of identifying the operating system that is running, the operating system version running on computer or devices, IP and transmission TCP or UDP ports that are listening, applications that are installed on the computers, accounts that have weak password, files and folders with weak permissions, default service and applications that might have to be uninstalled, errors in the security configuration of common applications, computers exposed to known or publicly reported vulnerabilities, EOL, end of life or end of service software information, missing patches and hot fixes, weak network configuration and misconfigured or risky port help to verify inventory. That's a list to know what are the devices that are available. So we have active scanning. This interacts directly with the target network to find vulnerabilities. It helps in simulating an attack on the target network to uncover vulnerabilities that can be exposed. For passive scanning, it tries to find vulnerabilities without directly interacting with the target network. The attacker identifies vulnerability via information exposed by systems during normal communication. So in passive probes, so passive scanning they identify active operating system application and ports. Example, attacker guesses the operating system information applications and application and service version by observing the TCP connection setup and teardown. So tools that attackers use for scanning: Nexus Professional, Qualys, GFI Langard, and Open VAS. So, what are the downside or the limitations of vulnerability assessment? It's limited in its ability to detect vulnerabilities at a given point in time. So it doesn't know all, it's not to know all these things. So based on the information it has, so it's limited per time. Vulnerability scanning software must be updated with new vulnerabilities when new vulnerabilities are discovered or when improvements are made to software to be being used. Software is only as effective as the maintenance performed on it by software vendor and by administrator who uses it. Vulnerability assessment does not measure the strength of security controls. Vulnerability scanning software is not immune to software engineering flaws. Human judgment is required to analyze. These are the limitations of vulnerability scanning software. Vulnerability scanning software cannot define the impact of an identified vulnerability on different business operations. Vulnerability assessment reports are not always easy to understand and assess for risk factors. Vulnerability scanning tools have a narrow focus and do not cover attack vectors such as social engineering. Vulnerability scanning software is limited in its ability to perform live tests on web applications to detect errors or unexpected behavior. So we have vulnerability scoring system, like we said, we have when we are talking about vulnerabilities, there can be either low, medium, or high. So we have vulnerability scoring system and databases. Common vulnerability scoring system, calculator CV 2022 620. So we deal with all these vulnerability scoring system and database. We have different sources, national vulnerability database. We have common weaknesses, common weakness enumeration. So there are four. So vulnerability research has become critical as it helps to mitigate the chance of attacks. So vulnerability research provides awareness of advanced techniques to identify flaws or loopholes in the software that can be exploited by attackers. So vulnerability scoring system and vulnerability database are used by security analysts to rank information system vulnerabilities and provide a composite score of the overall severity and risk. So some of the vulnerability scoring system include common vulnerability scoring system, common vulnerabilities and exposures, national vulnerability database, common weaknesses enumeration. So common vulnerability scoring system, public standard that establishes provides an open framework for communicating the characteristics and impacts of IT vulnerabilities. The contained model of the system ensures repeatable and accurate measurements while enabling users to view the underlying vulnerability characteristics that were used to generate the scores. So common vulnerabilities and scoring system is well suited as a standard measurement for industries, organizations, and governments that need accurate and consistent vulnerability impact scores. So two common uses of this are prioritization of vulnerability remediation activities and calculation of severity. So it shows you, okay, if you have a vulnerability and you see that is in terms of the metrics, it is high, you have to attend to it than when you see something that is low. You understand? So you quickly attend to it. So um, so there are three metrics for measuring vulnerabilities. We have base metric. This talks about the inherent qualities of the vulnerability. Temporal metric presents features that continue to change during the lifetime of the vulnerability. So that's why it's called temporal. So, but base is the inherent quality. Environmental metric, it represents vulnerabilities that are based on a particular environment or implementation. So you have base, inherent qualities, temporal, they change, environmental deals with the environment. So we have metric ranges from 1 to 10, with 10 being the most severe. So you have severity, you have none, 0.0, low, 0.1 to 3.9, medium, 4.0 to 6.9, high, 7.0 to 8.9, critical, 9.0 to 10.0. So if you see something, a vulnerability, and you see that the score is 9.0, that means you have to attend to that immediately. It has to be attended to that. I mean, it attended to immediately. Another one, apart from CVSS, is common vulnerabilities and exposure, cve.org. cve.org. I didn't mention the website for CVSS. Okay. Um, first.org or nvd.nist.gov. First.org.nvd.nist.org. So CV publicly available and free to use list or dictionary or standard that's identified for common software vulnerability and exposure. The use of CV identifiers, which are assigned by CV number authorities, ensures confidence among parties when discussing or sharing information about a unique software or firmware vulnerability. So basically, this is focusing on software vulnerabilities. So it provides a baseline tool for evaluation and enables data exchange for cybersecurity automation. It provides a baseline for evaluating and coverage of tools and services so that users can determine which tools are most effective and appropriate for their coverage. So, what CV, common vulnerabilities, and exploit is one identifier for one vulnerability or exposure. So, if there's a one vulnerability, it has one identifier for it. One standardized description for each vulnerability or exposure, a dictionary rather than a database, method for disparate database and tools to speak the same language, the way to interoperability and better security coverage, basis for evaluation among services, tools, and database, free for the public to download and use, industry endorsed via CVE number authority, CVE board, and the numerous products and services that include CVE. To have the result. So we'll continue from here tomorrow. We'll continue from here tomorrow. Tomorrow. Okay. So all right. So see you tomorrow.